Alright guys, so here we're going to explore creating some morph targets or blend shapes in Maya. And what we're going to do is going to try to get them to go nice and smooth. I got several different variations and several different types, even a little extra ice in there. And what we want to do is get to our sword. I modeled a sword here, and we have like a simple texture on it and so forth. I'm going to take this into Unreal, and I'm going to show you how to edit and how to tweak out some of the things in here, including our materials, as well as some of the other items. But let's first review exactly how to do this and some of the best ways to handle morph targets in Maya. Now we do have a character over here which we're going to have different emotions for him later on, and he's going to appear later on in the course. But right here, let me show you exactly what you can do and some of the tools you can use to actually warp out your shapes without having a lot of hits on your texture if you've already UV'd and unwrapped your character. This prevents you from having to unwrap every single blend shape, which is bad. But if you just tuck and pull and push and pull on your vertices, that's going to be harder to maintain. That's going to be harder to keep your consistency if you do that, and you can get some really bad texture stretching on your model, which is not going to be ideal for a workflow. So what I did here is I used Maya's deformers. I hit the space bar and just chose one of my shapes. And we'll just pick on this guy for a second, Control D, and move him over. And I got one of my guys, and I went in here and I hit the space bar, and I did Create Deformers, and I did a Lattice Deformer. Now the Lattice Deformer is really nice. Why this works really well is that it actually is made for animation. And it being made for animation makes it easier and makes it less taxing on your texture because it's made to deform over a surface area, over a large surface region, even small, but in these points, within these point variables, you have it so that there's a nice drop-off. So as I push on this, you'll see that the texture isn't really taking a hit as much as if I went in here and just grabbed my vertices. Now, if I just grab vertices, you're going to see some really disgusting stretching happening, not so great. It's only flickering because it's going out of the bounds of the lattice, but you can see a difference right there between these two guys, and this works really well for any kind of shape deformations. And time to time again, I'll grab one of my heads and I'll go in here and I'll tweak him out and edit him accordingly, and with that head edited, I'll use a lattice in the process, and that allows me to get different emotions, or I'll just take him into ZBrush or Mudbox and sculpt him around. But these are available to you, and I just wanted to point them out that they actually work really well. And you can even use the non-linear, hitting the spacebar again, Create Deformers. We have a non-linear bend, flare, sign. All these things you can also add to your scene. And again, you take a very minimal hit on your texture surface area. All right, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and create our blend shapes on this guy. And I'm going to grab these guys, and I'm going to leave my lattice active for now. That's fine. I'm going to grab these guys individually here, and I'm going to grab finally my final piece right here. This is my resting piece, or the piece in its resting state. So you're going to grab all your blend shapes and shift select your last or target object, and we're going to go in here now, and we're going to go to animation editors. We're going to go to blend shape, open this guy up. In the blend shapes, we're going to create a new blend shape. So we can do this here through the menu, or we can just go in here under our deformers and create deformers, and we can open up blend shapes through here. Now this is a lot better because through just doing it generically, you won't have the name control. But here we'll have a complete name control, which is really nice. And we can name this guy Ice M. We'll just call it M01. This will be our Melt 01. Now there is an advanced settings here. This allows you to control things through the history. This is mainly for more complicated rigs. We're just going to simply have a bone in the middle. But make note of that and keep those things in mind. We're going to go to Basic here. Always have check Typology. And we're going to hit Create. Now before we bake, we need to make sure that everything's positioned correctly. But let's test out our blend shapes. We're going to Windows, Animation Editors, and we're going to go to our blend shapes. We see Ice Melt there. He's on the top. And I can go in here and move him around. We can see him melt right there. We see the sword. We can melt it one more time and melt it again one more time there. Now you'll notice there isn't a whole lot of movement other than the stretching of the geo. And that's fine because when we go to keyframe this, we're actually going to grab that joint and move it down. So let's go and move this guy off to the side for a second. And we're going to go in here and add one more blend shape to this, and we're going to bound both these guys to that bone. This is just going to save time for effect. Now, if we wanted, we could actually create a larger bone chain for this particular system. In other words, if we had multiple blend shapes strung through this, but that's kind of a waste of time because we really just need this system. Also, when you rig it, you would have a controller. I'm just leaving that controller out in this particular case. We may have one later on for this guy here, just so you can understand that process. But overall, we're just going to mainly focus on the bones. Again, you would have a parent constraint controller and just run it through if you needed to move them. But I'm just going to physically grab that bone for now and move it down. So let's go and grab this first, though. We need to make our bottom blend shape here. And again, we're going to go into our windows, and we're going to go in here, actually go to Create Deformers, open this guy up again, and we'll call this bottom melt. So we'll call this melt underscore BTTM. And like I said before, this advanced area here is mainly just to parse your history. But I'm going to show you real quick, though, how you can fix things if your blend shapes aren't exactly doing what you want. Let's go and hit Create. We got this guy up. We'll go and scroll through. See him there. There's the melt. Awesome. Perfect. Exactly what we want. And let's go in here and take a look. Now, if your blend shape is really giving you a hard time, like it really isn't doing anything that you want, like you swear that it was, set up correctly, and you noticed, or maybe there's a blend shape that's not quite is not reacting or something, you can also right-click on your blend shape and go in here, and you can go to Inputs, All Inputs, and what you can do when your blend shape's giving you trouble, or there's one not really reacting, you can move them before the tweak. Now you would just middle mouse drag it over here. This also includes if you're made a new blend shape and you've already bound to your object, like you've already bound the skin to it, then that's actually kind of important too. So keep those things in mind, because then if you run into any trouble, you can go again, right click and go to Inputs, All Inputs, and you can shuffle your history, your blend shape according to what's been done. So you'll see that there's history that'll show up there. All right, so we got that guy set up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to now bind skin on this guy. If we click here, we notice there is no reaction. I have my wireframe unshaded on. It isn't pink, showing that it's in history. We'll see that these guys are. But let's go ahead and grab both of these dudes. And in this case, actually, I'm just going to grab one of them in this case. It's a little bit easier to work with because we're going to have to move him down. We go to Skin, Bind Skin. Let's look at Smooth Bind properties real quick here. I'll keep this brief, but these are things to note. We're going to keep it classic linear, interactive. We're going to keep distance there is fine. Whatever you don't use post, no matter what you hear. It doesn't work so great in 2014 Maya, but it does work in hopefully in the newer versions. But in 2014, it's a little bit buggy, just to let you know. And we also have classic linear. And you always want to make sure you have colorized your joints and remove unused influences. I'm going to hit Bind Skin. Awesome. So it's good to go. So if you want, you can test it out. You can move it around. This is what we're going to do. We're going to drag him down as he goes down. We're going to have these blend shapes active and working with us and doing exactly what we want. So that's it right now for this particular lesson. The next lesson, we're going to bake those keys out, and then we're going to bring them into Unreal and take a look at some of the properties that we have at our disposal, which will make animating this and bringing this to life a lot of fun.